we are here on a very chilly day in Alabama. It's actually below freezing and I'm surprised that most of the state is still open because we don't know how to handle actually cold weather down here. If you hadn't done so yet, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell, leave a nice note. All right, we are actually going over Macy's Day Parade. Yeah, talk quietly. Okay, we're actually starting to use factoring. This is one of the F words in math that people don't like. Okay, usually it's fractions, factoring, and FOIL, and we got a way around foiling. So factoring is just a big word for dividing. Okay, so when we're go away when we're factoring polynomials, we're going to find the GCF of the numbers. Okay, then we're going to find the smallest exponent of the variables. That is usually our GCF of the whole thing. We're going to divide by the GCF. We're going to put the GCF on the outside and the leftovers on the inside. All right, so let's look at this one that I've kind of already done. All right, we have 9. We have 9x and 45. Well, the biggest thing that will divide both of them is 9. You can't divide an x out of 45 because it doesn't have it. Okay, so when we divide this, okay, the 9's cancel, we're left with x. When you divide 45 by 9, you're left with 5. That's why it's called these are the leftovers. Okay, leftovers. And I think it's very appropriate to talk about leftovers because we are in the month of November now. And, a lot of people love the Thanksgiving meals and, you know, actually having, doing other things like that and having leftovers. Now, I have a question. Is it a true Thanksgiving meal if you're not sent home with leftovers in like Cool Whip containers or old like margarine containers like Parquet and stuff like that? I don't think so. That's what makes it good. All right. So this problem is already worked out for us. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's actually do one that will make some sense. All right. So let's look at number 2. All right. Our numbers are 8, 20, and 12. What is the biggest number that we can divide out of 8, 20, and 12? Did you say 10? 20. You can't divide. No. What's the biggest number you can divide out of 8, 20, and 12? We can't divide 8 and 12. It's 4. All right. So 4. Okay. Now, all right. Now, what is with our variable? Does all of them have a variable? Yeah, they all do. They all have an x of some type. Okay. What is the smallest exponent of our x's? Yeah, just to the first. So that's, believe it or not, that's our GCF is 4x. Okay. So we're going to divide it out. All right. So what is 8 divided by 4? 2. All right. If I have 3 x's and I take one of them away, how many do I have? 2. Okay. Now, what is 20 divided by 4? 5. If I have 2 x's, I take one away. Very good. That's just, all right. What do you mean? If it was an exponent, it would be smaller and kind of. It's not. It's a regular number. It's a coefficient. All right. And what is 12 divided by 4? It's going to be 3. Yeah, it's going to have a negative right here. 3. All right. If I have an x and I take it away, 1. All right. Believe it or not, this is our number. This is our number. This is our answer. Okay. Remember how I said we had x to the third? We take 1 out. Okay. Do you see this right here that I'm fixing to do in red? All right. That's dividing. All right. Remember when we divide variables with the same base, we subtract, right? So what is 3 minus 1? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So think about this. Part 2 of your test yesterday that we had in Unit 7, you had a problem that started like our answer right here, right? And you multiplied and we got this. We're basically doing part 2. We're doing reverse distributive property all the way through. I know that sounds crazy, but that's actually what we're doing. All right. Are we all good with number 2? All right. So now, 18 and 12. What is the biggest number that will divide 18 and 12? 3 is 1, but let's go a little bit higher. 6. Okay. What is the smallest exponent of our x's? To the third. All right. So when we factor, we're going to put our GCF out here because that's what we're taking out. Okay. All right. So what is 18 divided by 6? 3. Okay. If I have 6 x's and I take 3 of them out, how many am I left with? 3. All right. What is 12 divided by 6? 2. All right. Now, the x to the thirds, we have 3. We divide them out. They're gone. This is our answer. So believe it or not, we're actually putting a lot of these small exponent rules and stuff that we learned right after fall break into practice. Okay. Hey, Snacks. Why did the pilgrim's pants keep falling down? That's right. His belt was on his hat. The in the red on our joke of the day board, it's a warning. It says, if you listen closely, you can hear Mariah Carey begin being thawed for after Thanksgiving. All right, let's look at number 4. All right, we have 15, 25, and 55. What is the biggest number that will divide all three of those? Wow, everybody sounded really enthused. All right, do they all have an X? Yes. What is the smallest exponent? X to the first. All right, so now 15 divided by 5 is 3. If I have 3 X's and one of them mysteriously disappears, I have 2. All right, I got to move this. How's, all right, what is 25 divided by 5? 5. And it's going to be a negative because it says so right here. If I have 2 X's and one of them mysteriously disappears, I'm left with 1 X. And then 55 divided by 5 should be 11. And then all the X's disappear. All right. Are we good with number 4? Now, yes. All right. Y'all want to know a useless fact of knowledge about the GCF? It doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you anyways. The greatest common factor is actually the number one part of these algorithms that match people up on these dating websites. Yeah, if you actually listen like the eHarmony and some of these match.com and stuff where it says we match you on 15 different levels, that's what they actually do. They see how many people that their likes overlap. It's literally, and greatest common factor is actually a very low level math thing. All right, I kind of want to show y'all something a little bit that's how this is going to look like. Um, actually, all right. If you were to have this on your like test or practice or something, this is what it's going to look like. This is probably how you're going to do it. What's the biggest number I can divide out of 6 and 24? 6. Okay. They both have X's. What is the smallest one? Yeah, X to the first, X to the 1. So 6X. All right. 6 divided by 6, those cancel. If I have 2 X's and one of them disappears, I have 1. All right. Put my minus here. 24 divided by 6 is 4. X divided by X, they cancel. Huh? Yes, the question was, is it okay if we put a 1 right here? Yes, I've never counted off for that. Please understand, if you go further on in math, some of your teachers may. I don't, because I know some of y'all need that. Ooh. Number 6. What is the biggest number that will divide 20 and 44? Yeah, 4. You would think it would be bigger, right? But it's not. All right. What about my variables? What can I take out? Yeah, x to the first. Okay. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. X squared minus 1 is x. 44 divided by 4 is 11. And x is canceled. Ah. Fun, 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 fun. All right. Number 7 is probably the hardest problem on the whole paper. What number can we divide out of 5x, out of 5 and 1? 1. All right. What about our variables? Yeah, x to the first. All right. Are we good with 5 through 7? Not quite, but we're getting there. All right. We good now? All right. So, all right. Number 8. If the leading coefficient is negative, we always factor out a negative. Okay? The leading coefficient, that means the first one. All right? If it's negative, we're factoring out a negative. Oop, 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 oop. I got ahead of myself. All right. So we know we're factoring out a negative out of everything. All right. What is the GCF of 2, 14, and 6? 2. Yeah. Notice I didn't say -2, 14, -6. We know we got to factor out a negative. We just dealt with the positive numbers. There's too much negative in the world. Let's just focus on the positive. What about our variables? Yep. All right. So when we factor this out, -2 divided by -2 becomes a positive. This is just x to the third, or 1x to the third, negative 7x positive 3, because we're dividing by a negative. Okay? Yeah, I finished that one. It's okay. All right, we good with number 8? All right, moving on. All right, so number 9. This is a negative, so I got to factor out a negative out of each one. What's my GCF of 5 and 35? 5. All right, now this one has two different variables. It doesn't matter. We have an x to the second and an x to the first. What is the smallest? First. All right, we have a y to the first and a y to the first. Which one's the smallest? Yeah! Woohoo! Y'all got it. All right, so when we're dividing this out, the 5's cancel. One of the x's cancels, leaving me with one of the x's. I'll put a 1 there because, make people happy. And the x's cancel. Awesome. 35 divided by -5 is -7. And then these variables cancel. That is my answer here. All right, I already know I'm going to have to divide out a negative, 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 negative. All right. Are there any numbers like coefficients, big numbers, on number 10? No. Okay. So we have to go with our exponents. What's the smallest exponent? Yeah, to the first. It's just going to be x. So we're actually dividing everything by negative x. Ugh, not a negative, negative x. All right. So a negative divided, we're going to have a positive x squared. We're going to have a negative x. We're going to have a positive 1. Huh? Yeah, we don't have to really solve anything right now. This is actually helping us for what we need to solve later. Like this is the couple of baby steps before it's like the mini levels before we get to the boss level. Okay? But um and what was funny, I had lots of people that put equal signs on stuff for the test yesterday, and there was no solving yesterday either. Kind of funny. All right, so everybody good with 9 and 10? All right. So factor by grouping. Okay. So you might want to write this down because I've typed it out. Aren't you glad I typed it out instead of handwrite it? Some of y'all are like, yes, thank you. Your handwriting's atrocious. All right. So, hey, I know. I own it. Okay. So we're going to factor by grouping. This is when we have 4 terms. We use this when we have 4 terms. All right. And they're all unlike. We can't combine them. Okay. So in the blue, we group the first 2 and the last 2 terms together. So all I did from here to here is put the parentheses around those. That's it. Oh, I'm going to be here a while because there's lots to write. There's lots to write. What? Mm-mm-mm. All right. Now, after you group these together, we need to find the GCF of both groups and divide. All right. So, in the first group, what is the GCF of x to the 4th and 4x to the 3rd? Do I need to wait a little bit? Yeah, I need to wait a little bit. Waiting, 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 waiting. All right. So when you find this, we do like this. Now, when we divide these out, our leftovers should match. Now, yeah, this is a lot of writing, but it's once we get going, it goes really a lot faster. It's kind of like when we do quadratic formula. All right. Now, since the numbers match, since the leftovers match, we write the GCFs together. So GCFs x to the 3rd plus 2 and the x plus 4. Now, I have a question. After you get this written down, kind of look at it. It should look similar to something we did in Unit 7, but in reverse. Who used the double distributive property on the test yesterday? Who used double distributive on the test yesterday? I don't know what you used either. All right, look. Look at this. Here's two binomials. You split the first one and repeat the second one. Factor by grouping is basically double distributive property in reverse. Wow. All right. Let's look at number 1 and number 2 right here on this factor by grouping. All right. What is our very first step in factor by grouping? Wow, I started off with 9 people paying attention and now I'm down to like none. All right, so you group the first two with parentheses and the second two. Now, because this second one has a negative, I got to grab that negative. Okay? Now, I have to find the GCF of both of these. Well, what's the GCF of 3 and 15? 3. Awesome. We have an x to the third and an x squared. What's the smallest? Yep, x squared. I heard a 2. I'm going to go with it. All right. We have a negative. What's the GCF between 2 and 10? Yep. So we know it's going to be negative. Awesome. So we factor those out. After all this, I'm left with the x plus 5. X negative 10 divided by negative 2 plus 5. All right. Our leftovers match. Leftover, leftover. So we write our GCFs together and our leftovers together. So it actually goes a lot faster when you're doing it other than when you're learning the steps. Okay? You kind of have to crawl before you can walk, before you can run, before you can sprint. Did anybody happen to witness a kid trying to run to a place yesterday trick-or-treating and they fall and eat it? Okay. She fell down a hill wearing high heels. All right. Number 2. Group the first 2, group the second 2. What is the biggest number we can divide out of 8 and 12? 4. The smallest exponent, x to the first. All right. What is the biggest number I can divide out of 2 and 3? 1. And what's the only thing they both have in common? A y. Okay? So 4x, 2x plus 3. All right. So after it's all said and done, look, yeah, I know I'm kind of accidentally writing fast. I don't mean to. I've been doing this for a long time and my coffee is hitting me all at once. Okay? It's hitting me hard. Just about as much as the kid that ate a small bunt cake and drank a Baja Blast in class. We're not going to mention their name. Snacks. So it's what, those dogs? Oh, that's probably for different. The circles and dots are probably for different drills and stuff. All right, we good with one and two? Awesome. All right, we're going to do three and four, and then we're going to be done. I'm going to let y'all do all of them for your turn. Group, 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 group. X squared, x squared. This has got to be a negative because the leading coefficient's negative. The GCF of negative 5 and 10 is 5. So x squared, x plus 2 minus 5, x plus 2. So x squared minus 5, x plus 2. Group, 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 group. See, smallest one is x to the third. Then 2 and 2. X to the third. X plus 4. X plus 4. Third plus 2. X plus 4. All right. All right. So this is where I leave you today for all the in-home audience. Hopefully the in-class audience, we can get a little bit more participation. But we will see. It is the day after Halloween, so we'll see what we can do as we move on for later. Don't forget, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell, leave a good note, stay farce. Good stuff, good things. Roll Tide.